Thank you, Enrique, for your gentle presentation, and thanks to the UDK as well for the opportunity to share our work here in this nice auditorium. I'm deeply honored to be here. I'm going to talk about 12 public buildings by Mansilla and Tuñol, our humble office in Madrid, place in Madrid. This is a real small office. This is a picture of the whole team. And it's a really, just the only that passed away was Luis, that is this. Let me see, this is Luis Mansilla. Before I begin, I would like to warn you that my English is far from perfect. And then, if you don't mind, in order to be a little more accurate, I would like to read a very short introduction to the lecture. Firstly, I would like to say that this lecture is to honor the memory of Luis Mansilla, who, as Enrique has just said, passed away 1 year ago. Luis and I used to like talking about equality and diversity. The presence of equality and diversity has been hovering over all our projects from the beginning of our activity. We think that an architect is just a person who builds. That is to say that an architect is just a person who is concerned about what concerns all human, the discovery of our engagement with nature. A nature that we like to relate to the concept of human sympathy. The human sympathy is the sound of the essential uniformity of the species and also the multiplicity of motives that interweave in the dramatic and varied existence of men. This dual sentiment of feeling both equal and different, of being part of a group, and at the same time absolutely different, is what allows us to feel that we are part of nature, sharing a common destiny with animals, with trees, and with the stones. Faced with a destiny that is imposed by nature, man rebels and struggles to change it, and imagines himself changing nature and his destiny and inventing freedom. Then he also struggles to find his place in the other human activity that begins where nature ends, the culture as a second human nature. What is truly human allows ambiguity and possibility, formal condition of the human world. These four concepts, equality and diversity, ambiguity and possibility, are what we have been working with from our first project. As if their combination, their brush with reality, allowed us to think that the work of architects is just bringing together architecture and life. And this brush, this struggle with reality, imposes the alteration of the procedures in order to produce series of open systems. According to this, the 12 projects I'm going to show you this evening should be understood as different sections of the projection of an idea onto the boundary conditions. In this lecture, there are 4 groups of projects. The first 3 projects are about equality and diversity in plan, facade, and section. The second group of 3 projects is about equality and diversity in repetition of constructive systems. The third group of 3 projects is about equality and diversity in different systems. And the last 3 projects are about ambiguity and possibility. I'll try to be brief. The first project that I'm going to explain is Zamora Museum. It's an old project. Zamora is a small city in the west of Spain. Here is the historical city. This is the Duero River. It's one of the most important rivers in Spain. Maybe someone knows about it for the wine from this area. That is a very common, very good wine. And the old city of Zamora was this part. And there used to be a big walls surrounding the historical city. And this is the upper part of the city. This is the lower part of the city in which the site was placed. And there is, I think, 20 meters height from the upper part to the lower part. And this area used to be prone to flood. The collection is a cultivaric treasure of silver and gold that is not very big, but is very interesting and very symbolic for this city, and is this kind of thing that I can show you here. Here we can see the Duero River. This is the site. There is a church here from the 12th century, remains of a palace from the 15th century. This part. This is the slope. And this is the upper part of the city. From this point to this square, there are, I think, 20 meters height. And well, this is the project. I'm going to try to explain. In the interior of this site, there was this cliff. There were these cliffs that are really incredible with these trees and with these stones here. And this is the first sketch, maybe the first sketch that we made. It's a sketch about this project, that is our first project, in which you can see it's a kind of quotation on Le Corbusier, with this drawing of this hand and this angel that is trying to capturing the spirit of the site. And here you can see the walls. He is or she is in the upper part of the city, and here is the project from the beginning, that is a kind of reflection about the fifth facade. This is one piece of the collection that is a votive stone. It's a votive stone that stands for a return trip. Here there is this feet represents the departure. This is the destination point, and this is the return. And it's very interesting because it's an activity that is in one. It's a kind of container with an activity in his interior, no? And then the project is the same. It's a kind. The project in general is the same that this votive stone with this container, with this kind of trip, inner trip, that is a kind of with these skylights, that set of skylights that are all of them equal and different in terms of detailing, but at the same time there are some rooms that are completely different. No? Then the project is a box, or it's a container with different rooms that are equal and different to the other. No? And this is the fifth facade with the skylights, with this set of skylights, all of them equal and different to the other. This is the 12th century palace. This is the 15th century palace. This is the 12th century church. And these are the cliffs, and this is some dwellings from the 19th century. And the interesting thing is this box that is trying to revitalize these interstices between all the buildings. Excuse me, it is. Here we can see the museum from the upper part of the city. You can see the set of skylights that are equal and different. This is the walls of the city. And here you can see the building and the city with the scale of this construction, these walls, the sign of museum here. And this is the entrance is here. It's in order to realize what the scale is. And here, this is the cliffs, the new building with these openings, these windows that are looking at different points of the city. The stone is a small stone. It's a brick dimension stone. We thought that we wanted it as if they were a kind of adobe slats. No? The dimension is really small, trying to make this very humble construction. It's in stone, but it tried to represent or to try to take the idea of this palace that in the facade were built with big stone, but in the interior were built just with adobe slates. This is the interior with the remains of the palace, of the old palace, with this column, this arch, this concrete slab. This is the Roman gallery. This is a mosaic At the beginning, the dimension of the Roman gallery was exactly the same of the mosaic in order for the people to walk over the mosaic. At the end, the curator of the museum said that it's impossible to step on a mosaic, and then they split it up into two, one part in the floor, another part on the wall. And this is the gallery for art from the Middle Ages. That is, and you can see both are very equal and the same with the same elements, but at the same time completely different. No? This is a diagonal view of the museum, and this is the back of the building with the storage area. This is the restoration area. This is the patio for restoration patio, no, with some piece of stone that are waiting to be restored. And this is you can see here the cliffs and the 20 meters height from the upper part to the other part. I like this picture because in one sense I think it sums up the whole project, no, with this set of skylights that are equal and different to the other, and at the same time there are a set of rooms that are equal and different to the other. The second project I'm going to talk is this auditorium of León. León is a historical city too. It's a small city in the west of Spain. All part of the city were placed in this area, the historical part. This is all pilgrim hospital. This is the Bernesca River, and in this hospital, it used to be outside of the city when the city was growing. This is the 60s extension. Then appeared this area, and this is the site for this new auditorium. This is the 90s extension that we will talk about it in another project. And in this place, that is a kind of boundary of the 60s extension of the city, a competition was launched. No? And then I have to explain that most of the projects that I'm going to explain today, the commission of them comes from competition. It was very common in Spain to compete with other colleagues like Santi, Enrique, and other friends that you have in this kind of friendly competition that is very healthy. This is the river, the Pilgrim Hospital, that now is a very famous hotel. And this is, I think we won this competition with this drawing. No? It's a drawing that in which this is the building that we project, but the idea was to try to transform with this building all this area. In this area there used to be a park lot and a petrol station. It was a completely dirty space, and in our competition we said that the most important thing that they had to do is to restore this area, to try to construct a kind of square in this limit of the 60th extension, with this facade of the Pilgrim Hospital and with our facade that was going to look at the river and at the Pilgrim Hospital. I think it's interesting to realize many years later that the competition was won with this drawing, because the idea was to not just to build this auditorium, but to renovate all this area, that it was a very important area for the city, close to this Pilgrim Hospital, and to try to build a building that in the back there was going to be the auditorium properly, and in the facade we are going to build a kind of 100-eye facade that was looking at the auditorium. Here you can see the auditorium, that is León. That is just a joke. León in Spanish means lion. And then in the competition we said that we are going to build a lion, a 100-eye lion. Here you can see the head of the lion looking at the Pilgrim Hospital, the body laying down, and the tail of the lion. This is the project, and this is the auditorium. It's a double focus auditorium, no, here. This is the facade that is looking at the or facing the Pilgrim Hospital. This is just a picture from the hospital, the Pilgrim Hospital, with this facade. We love this picture with all these little things that it has, no, this kind of thing. And we thought that the facade has to be this kind of quality. No? This is the first model for this facade, no? With this carved facade, not with a lot of windows that are equal and different to the other. No? So this is the composition of the facade. No? Here you can see it's a kind of canonical composition in which there is a grid, an outer grid, and an inner opening. The opening and the grid don't match very well, but you have here 7 holes, here 8, 9, 10, and the height is related to this division of the number of windows that you have. But at the same time, every window have this quality to be equal and different to the other. Here you can see the scale is what built with white concrete. Here you can see the auditorium properly. That is this one, that is in stone, in big pieces of stone with this big eye also, that it belongs to this family. This picture is just to show the scale of the project. Now here you can see the different windows, the idea of just for showing one picture of the lobby with these wooden benches, and the auditorium that is, all of them is in wood, in black wood. This is a kind of belly of a whale, no? And you feel, when you are in this concert, you feel that you are listening to the music, but in the belly of a whale. No? This is the last picture of this project. That is, I like this picture because it shows very well this idea of the 100-eyed lion. No? That is this face, this facade with 100 eyes looking at the Pilgrim Hospital. The third project I'm going to talk is this Fine Arts Museum in Castellón. That is it's a big museum in Castellón. Castellón is a city in the east coast of Spain. There used to be an old, it doesn't work very well here. There used to be an old school here. This is the site. And the administration decided to put together 4 museums: the Fine Art Museum, the Archaeology Museum, the Ethnology Museum, and Ceramic Museum. Then it was the problem of this museum, that you have to put together these 4 museums. From the beginning, we decided to make a museum made up of 4 piled up museums, each one in one level, and that is to say that every museum was going to be equal and different to the others. And here you can see, you can realize the section well. No? I don't know if it's possible. No? Every level is equal and different to the other. Every story has the same elements to the other, with the same square meters of walls, with the same double height spaces, with the same windows. But each one, the composition of every plan, or each plan, was completely different to the other, because we built this kind of waterfall of double height voids. Here is this complete plan. This part that we has been talking was this part with the 4 museums piled up, 4 piled up museums. Here, this is the entrance, the patio, entrance patio. This is the lobby. This is the courtyard of the old school, where we kept all the trees, all the cypress that the former students used to plant there. And surrounding this courtyard, there is this area of temporary room, a temporary exhibition room. This is the library. This is the administration, and some part for some auditorium, and that part is the restoration area. Here you can see the whole building. This is the cypress that were planted by the former students that we kept them. This is the cloister. This is the surrounding of the cloister area. This is the restoration area, and the four piled up museum here, and this is on the skylight that is catching the light for the lobby. Well, the important thing is that all the building is made out of planks of cast aluminum, recycled cast aluminum planks. No? All of them is a kind of like a clock that everything is mounted in a very precise way, and it's very interesting because each one is handcraft sheet, like this kind of artisan piece made up of cast aluminum, and this you can see well here. Then I'm going to have problem because it's possible to switch on the light or not. This is the pilot museum with the skylights, with the trees, and this is the idea of it. Here you can see this waterfall of double height spaces. No? Here every double space is connecting with the other, and you can see this kind of waterfall of double height spaces, or this staircase of double height spaces. Here you can see the whole. Then you can see the whole building throughout this space. This you can see here, and in this case you can see also the different levels, the different museums. Every museum is placed in every level, and here you can see at the other side of the double height void, the museum. In this case is the Fine Art Museum. But I would like to show this picture because this is the piled up museum, the four piled up museum. Here is the entrance with the patio, and here maybe you can see this sign of museum that is very similar to the one that we saw in Zamora, but in this case they are every letter is a beam. It's a beam that is supporting. I have to maybe here. Here you can see the letter that is a kind of beam, and then you can, and it's supporting this slab. And then during the process, we wanted to construct them in the place on site. We tried to make the cast in the place, and they say that our constructor said that it was impossible because the dimension doesn't work, and then they convinced us to precast it in Madrid. And then we said, okay, we are going to do it, but we are going to transport them in a very. We had them, the two drivers, we had them write the letter in the right order throughout all the trip. No? Here you can see. It's interesting because at the beginning they started saying that it was they started in the 6 in the morning. We took all the cars, all the trucks. The truck driver look at us and said, "These architects are silly, are completely silly." No? They were completely upset because you have to maintain the distance and you have to be very. We were calling them and take care of them. That is not. And it was very incredible because at the beginning they were really upset, but in the middle of the process, this is halfway there. No, the truck drivers were completely happy. No? They started to like this performance. No? And it's amazing because for us, when I saw this picture, this is amazing because not even they are very happy, but at the same time they look like the letter. No, here you can see. Look at the M. Look at the M with this. Look at the M. It's perfect. No, it's the same angle. And it's an angle. And look at this U with this belly. This S with this double belly. The E. No, it's exactly the same tilt. No, so you try to do it. This picture, it's not possible to do it. I was completely shocked. No, and look at the faces of all of them, very happy. No. We have been thinking of this very many times because it's very interesting, this thing that architects are people that make things with people, like this truck driver, for people. No? And then it's very important to think that people is very important in our work. And also the people that are working your work, that you say you have to do this being this way, but it's important to pay attention to them because many times they are much more wise than you are. But this is just a joke about these guys that are incredible. This is a... Bueno, okay, so far we have looked over these three projects. Zamora was about equality and difference in plan. León, the authority of León, was about equality and difference in facade. And Castellón was about equality and difference in section. And then from these three projects, this one, and the other one is this one, we started drawing every project that we produced, we made in a competition or we built, we draw this kind of scheme or diagram, and we introduce it into this process, trying to figure out what are the rules that are working in our work. And then we have been working for many years, and we discovered that there are groups, families, lines of work and research, and but these three projects are the real or the true origin of our work. From equality and diversity, there are other projects that deal with other related concepts such as repetition and randomness, organic forms, geological forms, and so on. But the concept of equality and diversity has always been present in all our projects. Now let's continue with the next three projects. This is the indoor swimming pool in San Fernando. San Fernando de Henares is a small little town close to Madrid, in the south of Madrid. And well, there used to be a historical factory here, and this is an old city that now is new, but is a circular city from the 18th century, better to say. And then in the outskirts, this is a small river, and there's these sport facilities, and there was a competition for a indoor swimming pool that was to be placed in this area. At the beginning it was at this area, but we convinced them during the process to place it in front of all the facilities in order to build the facade of the construction. This is the pavilion for the swimming pool. It's a small pavilion. Here are the complex, the sport complex with other different buildings. It's very complicated, but we built this sloped lobby to connect from the street to the first level of the complex, and then with a ramp, another ramp to the second level, and in the middle of the ramp, the entrance of the swimming pool. This is the changing room area, and two swimming pools, this one for training and this one for learning. It's a very simple sport facility, and but I think we started thinking of this idea of trying to think about way of seeing. No? The pool was placed in the upper level, and the mechanical system was in the lower level. Then all the facade, here you can see it, is built with these beams. It's a beam, I think 3 meter long length, 3 meter long beam. This one in white concrete, and we were weaving these beams in a kind of spider web. Here you can see the shadows of the beams, but it's interesting, this picture, because it shows the two different ways of seeing in this building. On one hand, we have this kind of filter with the beams, with the spider web, with this constructive system that protect the people that are making sport, doing sport, to the people that are outside in the street, and this big frontal window that is looking at the sport facilities, other sport facilities. Now here you can see the big frontal window, and here you can see the beams that are very And here you can see the sloped lobby with this is the street, this is the level of the sport complex, this is the level of the swimming pool hall, and this is the level of the second level of the sport facility, sport complex. And here you can see the interior, that is a very calm space, no? This one with these shadows of the spider web over the swimming pool. And I think this is the last picture. No? The idea in this project was to try to achieve or to construct this facade, achieving the unity by means of a construction system, in this case, these beams, precast beams that we use in all the facade. The two next projects are about the same thing, about trying to achieve the unity by means of the constructive system. No? This is the regional documentary center in Madrid. This is Madrid, the center of Madrid. This is the Atocha station. It used to be the end of the city. This is the Paseo del Prado Avenue. And here it used to be the end of Madrid, but Madrid was growing. Oh no, there used to be an old brewery here, an old brewery. And Madrid was growing to the south, and at the end, the city swallowed the brewery. No? The brewery was this one. It was a kind of still life made up of industrial buildings. No? And this is very interesting, all the construction, because none of them were very interesting, but each one at the same time had a lot of values to preserve. And then in the competition, we proposed at the beginning was a cultural center, and we proposed or we used a strategy in order to be able to work or to deal with it, even if the program was changed. Because in Spain it's very common to, I think maybe in all the countries, it's very common to start with a project and to finish with another program completely different. And that was the case, because we started with a cultural center, and in the middle of the work, they decided to transform into a documentary center. And then at the beginning, there used to be a kind of fine arts center, scenic arts center, a lot of this kind of stuff. But in this project, at the end, they wanted a library, and this one, an archive, this one, and a small institution that is the legal deposit, and a very small cultural center at this point. And we decided to preserve most of the industrial buildings, to preserve this one, to preserve all of them, the most interesting of them, and to build a new buildings that were completing the program of archive in this case, and library in this other. Here you can see at the end is an idea or to build a kind of still life made up of industrial buildings, modern and old industrial buildings. Here you can see the buildings that were preserved and the new ones. The archive, this is the archive, this is the library, this is the silos for grain, and now there are books in these silos where the grain used to be, no? Where this area, no? And this is the archive. You can see here the entrance and etc. And the idea of this project was about to try to achieve the unity of all the complex by means of the repetition of a construction system. No, here, just for having a look at it, all the restoration of the old factory with all the bricks and these kind of spaces. This is a public space inside. It's a dryer space. This space used to be a dryer space for grain, and this space now is used for researching in the archive. This is the researching area in the archive, and this is here you can see the library. In this on the left, on the right you can see the archive. There's a bridge in the middle, at the end you can see, you can realize the new architecture that is trying to make this kind of industrial architecture, but modern architecture at the same time. You can see here the old factory and the new construction of the new archive. Here with this kind of, here you can see the old construction. This is the archive. This part is also the archive, and this is the cultural center. And this is just for having a look at the interior. This is one of the lobbies with these shelves in which we have piled up all the machines, of the old machines, or some of them, because other has stayed in the same place that they used to be. You know? This is, I love this picture with the modern library, with the old machines that they look, that nobody knows how they work, or how they used to work, and they are a kind of bachelor machines by the charm. No? It's a kind of, there are, I think it's a very space, very special, no? With this ideas preservation as much as we can. And the third one is the Royal Collection Museum in Madrid. That is a project that that is still under construction. And we started with it in 1999, and we are under construction. This is Madrid. This is the west cornice of Madrid. The historical city was placed in this area. This is the Royal Palace. This is the Cathedral of Madrid. This is the upper part of the city, and this is the lower part of the city. This garden, this royal garden. There are 35 meters height from the upper part to the lower part, and then this is a kind of cornice of Madrid that you can see from the river that is in this place. This is the first sketch from 1999, and we draw. This is the first drawing that we thought that we had to build the natural extension of the Royal Palace. It was very daring proposal, but we go ahead with it. And then this is the model of the competition, no? I think 13 years ago. This is the galleries of the Royal Palace, the cathedral, and this idea of the new basement, new base of the cathedral, no? That trying to establish or to construct this extension, this natural extension of the cathedral. Here, I like this picture because here you can see this drawing that we make just one day in 1999, and 13 years later we are working in the same place. No? I think it's true that time in architecture is really long. No? We are under construction. We are still under construction, and it's important. It's true that there are still three years of construction left, and then we are going to finish the building in 2016. But the origin of this project was in 1936, 76 years ago, when Azaña, the president of the Spanish Republic, gave the order to build a museum for the royal collection in this place. Then there are a lot of people that have been working in this project for years and years and years. And then we have been working for 13 years. There are still 3 years left. And it's amazing because then you realize that sometimes you draw something in 1 week for a competition, and then you are going to be in chains, or to be, how do you say, taking with a chain to this project for years that you don't know when you are going to finish it. No, that is terrible. But here is the project. There are 3 levels of galleries with this facade that is a very simple facade that is made out of a set of pillars in stone, and it's this kind of grid. This is the basement with different ramps. These 3 levels are 3 galleries that are equal and different to and there are some archaeological remains, because this is the real origin of Madrid. This is the first settlement in this point. You can see here the construction in the interior. I'm not going to talk about this too much because it's under construction, but just I want to show some picture of it. No? The construction is very simple with these columns in concrete columns, vertical columns, and these beams that are with the same dimension. You should keep in mind that this is a kind of retaining wall of the whole Madrid. No? This is not just a retaining wall for the cat that we made, but retaining wall of the pressure of Madrid with this against this point. All the water is a kind of reservoir, no? With the water is pressing here, and this is very simple. Here you can see a kind of brise-soleil made out of big pillars, and the structure in the interior. I like this picture because you can realize the construction of the system of the construction that is very simple, and the continuity or the unity of the building is achieved in the interior with this concrete structure, and in the exterior, this is the exit to the garden, the royal garden. At the bottom, at the lower level of the three galleries. And here you can realize everything. This is a very interesting picture because here, this is the origin of Madrid. There used to be two small hills here. Then an Islamic fortification was built here, and Medina was built here. And then when the Christian kings took over this place, starting to grow the city from this point in the west to the east. No, it was interesting to explain Madrid, that is something like this. And then at a certain point they built this palace, the royal palace, winter palace at the west, and this summer palace at the east. No? This is the monarchic axis, and in the 18th century they built the Prado Museum that is here, and then they started with this modern axis that is from north to south, and then the surrounding motorways that is the axis on the 20th century and the 21st century. But the important, the picture was about, not was about this thing that I am sorry for my explanation, but this is the royal palace, and then this, you can see here, this extension, this natural extension of the royal palace to the south, with this construction, everything in granite stone, with big columns of granite stone that is keeping the same materials that in the royal palace. But the idea of this project, as I have already said, is about trying to achieve the unity by means of the repetition of this system, in this case with these columns. No? The next three projects are about expressive system. No? For us, an expressive system is the procedure to obtain expressive form by means of a set of very precise geometrical and constructive rules. Now we are back in León. In this place is the auditorium and the construction. This is the, as I told you, this is the extension of the city. The historical city was here, and this is the 90s extension. That is, it used to be a very gloomy area, very sad area, and with residential modern building for dwellings. And the town hall decided to build a new public space to try to revitalize this area. But then we started to work with this process that is an evolution of this idea of the qualitative difference of the repetition and randomness that we have been talking before. No? In this case, we established this set of figures. In this case, these are squares, there are rhombuses, and then if you have a rhombus, you have the places where when you have a square, you know where the rhombuses are placed, and then you establish a kind of relationship, a formal relationship between this shape to the others by means of a very simple set of rules. And this set of rules is also constructive. In this case, no, with this is a square and a rhombus, and then you establish the dimension of every single structure or every single being is exactly the same. No? Here you can see the rhombus and the squares allows you to build a kind of a zigzag gallery, linear gallery, that is this one, with these beams that are the same dimension, all of them. No? The system That is to say that the system is based on a kind of pattern of squares and rhombuses. But this pattern is, I think, it has more to do with the construction system that is set of this system with beams in which you can build these linear galleries with skylights, with patios, and with all the mechanical system in over the roof. Here you can see the plan. This is the general plan. Here you can see the squares and the rhombuses. It's interesting because this system allows you to know where is happening around. It's a kind of relationship element to element, and you know when you have an element what is happening with the others surrounding it, but you don't have a general form of the building. The general form of the building comes from the projection of this pattern onto the boundary condition of the city. Here you can see the building under construction, the walls, the concrete walls, the beams. This is the voids for mechanical system. The mechanical system are here. You can see here a gallery, skylights, a patio, and this is the patio, the plaza that we build, a public space, outer public space that we build here for this part of the city. The construction is based on this very simple facade, a ventilated facade with white glass in the outside, and here. But in the square, they ask us to do something much more interesting, and I have to confess that we didn't know what to do, and at the end, sometimes that we were at the cathedral, sometimes, and someone said, "What an incredible stained glass window!" I said, "But this is a nice idea." We took this stained glass window, and then we took apart, in this case, the Hunter stained glass window, and we cut it, and then take the shape and fold it. We can have the facade, and that's what we made, and this was very simple, and I don't know what to think about this, because it's something that it doesn't belong to us. No, I have to think that it's something that it comes from the cathedral, and in one sense, I used to prefer this white facade, more simple with the skylight and this kind of thing. But this is the public space, and here you can see the galleries, some of the galleries, the linear galleries, that we thought that in this way, but it's interesting to realize that even you have thought this project in this way, it's more interesting the other way, the diagonal or the transversal vision, in which you can see all the complexity of the different beams in the different spaces. Here it's interesting because you can see the facade in this point, and you can see a courtyard or a skylight with this beam, and so on. This is just an installation of Erling and Draxet, because they are Nordic artists that are very fan of them. And it's this installation with architecture inside architecture. Most of the exhibition, the dimension of this space is really good for this kind of installation in which you can build this kind of architecture inside the architecture. But the picture that I like more is this one, that is because I have said that this facade of this public space has something to do with the cathedral. But I think it's something, in one way we thought that, at the end, we thought that it was a little presumptuous to think that your building has something to do with the cathedral, because when you see this building, at the end the color facade is like hanging laundry. It's something more, as if someone in this part of the city is very popular to hang the laundry on the window and this kind. I think because the color facade has more to do with people than with the cathedral. Well, this is the next project is the Cantabria Museum. This is the Santander. It's one city in the north coast of Spain. The project is, it's a kind of evolution of the mosaic. No, the project is based on a system too, but in this case it's a three-dimension system in which we build this kind of still life building made up of different topographic construction, as if they were a kind of mountains of this area. But at the end, when you see this picture, you realize that the project has much more to do with people that are talking together, or a kind of demonstration of buildings, no? Something more. This is a very powerful project. I have to confess that it's not going to be construct because of the economical situation of Spain. No? It was everything. But it's the only project that I'm going to show you that is not under construction. But it's interesting to realize that this problem of the geometry of this system in this case is based not just in the geometry but also in the construction. In this case, when we worked with the different system of construction, in this case, concrete slabs. No? This system at the end, the shape was a little more balanced, as you can see here, and at the end, this topographical or landform construction turns into a kind of rock crystal. No? It's something more. This is. As I can show you pictures of the building under construction, I can show you this model that was built for the Arco Fair in Madrid, the Spanish art fair in Madrid. And I like to see this model with these two people mounting it. Okay. The La Linton Hall is the one building that we have just finished 1 year ago. 1.5 years ago. La Lin is a strange building because La Lin is a small village in the northwest of Spain, and it's not such a big village. It's small. The old town hall used to be inside the city, but they decided to build a bigger town hall in order to try to put together different villages of this area. Besides, there are a lot of small villages, and then this town hall wants to be a kind of county hall, a town hall, not just for the town, not just for the village, but for all the villages that are surrounding this village. In this area, there are a lot of Celtic settlements. That are most of them are very interesting because most of them are made up of these circular cells, no? Like this. This is a diagram of a settlement, of a Celtic settlement. And then we started working with this idea of trying to take to the building this very elemental construction, this by means of these circular shapes or this circular system. And all the spaces are equal and different to the other, but the complexity of the circular system establishes a new pattern of work. Here you can see, this is the final geometrical structure, and this is the final model with you can see here the circular system on the base. This is the town hall square. Here you can see since you are out of the city, you need one space to concentrate people in order to enter to the town hall. This is the base, and this is the mayor's tower. He wanted a tower, a special tower for him. And then this is the idea of saying that I have talked about the Musat. That is the idea to. So the general form comes from the projection of this circular system or circular pattern onto the boundary condition of this strange place. No? Here you can see the different square, the town hall square, different spaces, the public space, the first floor, the tower, the mayor's tower, and I love this plan because it's a very well-worked plan with a lot of things, but at the end, after working a lot, you realize that it's a kind of cubist Mickey Mouse plant. No? And then, after working a lot and talking about the system, circular system, projection into the boundary, you realize that architects are talking about I don't know what. But it's true that at the end, Mickey Mouse is more powerful than our architecture. Here you can see the town hall square. That is this is the outskirts of town hall, the major hall, the interior with this complexity of the circular shapes. This is the staircase. In this case, this is a kind of, in the lobby, a big void that is as a kind of big lamp with a lot of lights, you can see here. And this is this circular void. This is this big lamp. This is the staircase. No? This is the idea of getting expressivity by means of the system, of a very simple system in the lobby. And here you can see the project in the real dimension, in the real constructive system. No? On one hand, I have been working with this idea of projection, or the projection of a system, circular system, onto the boundary condition, but on the other hand is trying to achieve the unity by means of the repetition of just one constructive system, in this case this window. No? The automobile center in Torrejón. Torrejón is a really small village in the south of Madrid. In the previous three projects we were talking about different kind of systems. In the next three projects we are going to talk about ambiguity and possibility, opportunity. And this place is in the south of Madrid. This is a kind of motorway junction. No, this is a motorway, this is another motorway, this is a small town. And this is a strange space, a factory that is a scrap factory. No? This is maybe the biggest scrap factory in Europe. It's an incredible space for automobiles, and the scrap dealer decided to build a museum and an automobile center. It's not a museum, it's a center, because he's going to deal with different brands and this kind of thing. In this project, we kept working on circular shapes, because it's at the end it's a kind of big circular automobile center with circular galleries. There are these different galleries. But we were really concerned about the context, because even if I haven't talked a lot about the context in the other project, all the projects are really related with the context. But in this case, we were in the middle of nowhere, in this highway, in this motorway junction, in a strange place. And then we were thinking of the context. And at the end, we decided that the context was this space, this kind of thing, this kind of scrap that were in this area. At the end, the crashed cars, so the real context was the crashed cars of the factory. No? And then we decided to take these cars and to smash them in order to get this kind of smash car blocks. No? Is decontaminating the different smash car blocks. And then the construction of the building was going to be by means of these blocks. No? These blocks that are just this here. You can see the motorway, the scrap factory, and this building that is going to be a kind of castle of scrap in the middle of Castilla, or in the middle of nowhere. Just for having a look at the building, this is the under construction. This is the scale, just for. It's really. He wanted a big automobile center in the world, because his factory was the biggest in Europe, and the automobile center has to be the biggest. We have been trying to convince him to reduce the program, and the end is smaller than expected, but still is a little. You can see here the galleries. This is underground gallery, and the different spaces. And this is the facade detail, no, that I like to show you, because it's very precise detail. The energy dome in the environmental city of Garra is one of the last buildings that we are working in. Now it's close to Soria. Soria is a small city. But close to Soria, the administration decided to build a new environmental city, and it's been built. And then we went to a competition for this building that has a double function or double meaning. On one hand is the energy dome, and on the other hand is the institutional building of the new environmental city. The energy dome is a strange word because and it comes from a new planning that the administration in this region of Spain has about the Duero River. The Duero River, Castilla y León is a big, it's a big region in Spain, very desert. But they have the Duero River that where most of the most important winery in Spain were placed. And then they have decided to try to take the people to this area, to this industrial area, to build 5 domes, one for the energy, another for the wine, another for technology, another for the memory or something like that, another for the water. And the first one was this, and it was strange because on one hand they wanted this kind of building or this kind of dome, but on the other, it represents a very spherical form. But on the other hand, they wanted to accomplish or to solve this program of this institutional building with a lot of. Then you have the dome and you have something much more fragmentary, and we decided to make a joke with this and to take this dome, to cut it into 10 buildings as they need, and then to move it according to this. No? Then every sector is defined by the radius, and at the same time, each sector is defined by the same dimension, this radius, but it's completely different to the other. But if you build one, you realize what the others can be. No? Here you can see the complete structure with 10 buildings. And I have to confess that during this process, I think it's a 5-year process, they have decided to cut the building 30%, and then we have decided not to build these 3. But it's interesting because even we don't build this, we are not building these 3, these 7 work perfectly because you can understand the complete form where they come. The interesting thing is that here we have been trying to deconstruct the dome, but the dome keeps in the place with this livestock here. Then this is the. But when you define each one with the radius, with the constructive system that is trying to achieve the unity by means of the repetition of this construction system, you can see this is the last picture I took last day for you. That is in order to understand because it's not that easy to see it because there are a lot of things around it. It's interesting because this building, even if the process is very simple and very direct, at the end the space is very ambiguous and all the spaces are completely, the right word is fairly ambiguous. These are really, okay. This is the last project I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to finish. I think and this is the last project that we have just finished, I think 1 year ago. Cáceres is a city, middle-sized city that is in the west of Spain, and is in an inner city. And the old Cáceres, this is the old Cáceres, this kind of almond, comes from the Middle Ages. It's a medieval city. And in the center of it, we were commissioned to build a new Relais Chateau. That is, as you know, is a chain of familiar hotels in which the restaurants are very important because are maybe the most important to go and to have a nice weekend in a very familiar atmosphere and with a very nice restaurant. And then we started working in this place with these people, and this is the place that is the real center of the city. Here is the oldest church of the city, one palace, another palace, but all this construction were some of them from the 80s, the last century, some of them from the 90s, and another one. This part is older, is maybe from the 14th century. And then we started, the first project we made, we decided to get rid of all these buildings. And then it was terrible because the city was close to kill us. They wanted to, the people were completely against the project. And then we had a serious problem with the city, with our clients, etc., and so on. We were told to preserve, at the end, after a lot of conversation, we were told to preserve the existing facade with all its scars and faults. And then our proposal was, so we changed our mind from the first proposal that we were working, getting rid of everything that was in this place. And then we changed our mind and we proposed to build a new construction, but this is a new construction with the same constructed volume as the existing one, with the same constructed surface as the existing one, and with the same height as the existing one. It was, then the limit of the project is the same, you measure the square meters are the same, and the cubic meters are completely the same. Then this is the former building, and this is our proposal. But our proposal was more about to build a kind of hermit crab inside the block. So it's a kind of hermit crab that is made up of this structure, white structure with pillars, this really thin pillars, I think close to something forbidden in Spain. Well, it's forbidden to do this, but they decided to do it in trying to, we convinced the architect of the city saying that this is not a grid of pillars, but it's a wall that has a lot of windows. It's amazing, but it works. It worked. And then, but the idea was to preserve all the facade and to build inside this kind of hermit crab. Well, this is a model of the building. The facade was here, the old facade. This is the hermit crab. This is the part that was maybe for the 14th century. And then this is the two swimming pools on the top, that very small, black swimming pool, not swimming pool, black pools, because swimming is impossible. Just pool, black pool. And on the top one is warm and the other one is cold, and it's nice. This is the picture of the result. This is the tower of the oldest church in Cáceres. It's San Mateo Tower. This is the other tower of the oldest castle, that is one that is called Sande Palace. And this was atrio. Here you can realize the squares of the old facade with the new facade that is overlapping this structure. Here I like this picture because it's very clear to show the idea of the three towers in the main square of the old city of Cáceres. Here you can see the new building. This hermit crab with the old context and the old building. This part we have to preserve it also because it was considered part of the old facade with the new windows. And here you can see this inner patio with this structure. Here you can see this. This is the pillars and beams established or construct this kind of frame, looking at this tiny hill, and then in the top there is a hermit church, and we like this joke that is a hermit crab that is looking at the hermit church, and and here is the street at the back of the building. Here and all the walls that have been preserved with the new door, with the new windows, and so on. You can see here the different layers in the interior with different patios and courtyards. Here there is the interior of the restaurant, and it's just this is the back courtyard with the interior of the restaurant. The restaurant, you should keep in mind that is a very important part of this hotel. And once again, in this case, is the continuity of the different spaces is achieved by means of this repetition of a construction system. The bedroom are very quiet spaces. Here you can see these white spaces open to the historical city. No? This is San Mateo Square. These rocking chairs that I love them. Looking at this space, the building is kind of full shadows, transparencies, and these kind of things. But the true heart of the building is the restaurant. This restaurant, as you can see, this is it's the kitchen. No? You can see here all the chefs working in this very incredible restaurant. But this is the heart of the building, but the true heart is where people are enjoying the food and life, no? Because I think at the end, architecture, it has more to do with life than with structures or this kind of thing. But I love this picture, that is all the chefs working in this very sophisticated dishes, no? And here you can see some macaroni for these kids, no? And I like this picture because you realize that we are thinking in this, that is sophisticated, that the architect, but at the end, things are very simple, no? Macaroni is the best food for kids, no? And then it's important. This is my kid in the pool. I have to apologize because I couldn't help showing it, this picture, because it's, but it has something to do with this one, that is the last picture that I'm going to show you. It's the same day. This is a picture taken by me, maybe you can see here. And this is a picture taken by Luis from Atrio, no? Here, this is Atrio, and this is the square, no? This is me, and this is my son, no? I think along this lecture, rather than explaining a couple of buildings in depth, I have been hovering over all our public building, paying attention just to a small part of our concern in architecture. Even though we all feel absolutely different from the others, we know that we and our projects are fairly similar to the others. I would like to say again that at the end of the day, from our point of view, architecture is just one of the expression of human sympathy. Human sympathy is the essential uniformity of the species and also the multiplicity of motives that interweave in the dramatic and varied existence of men. With this picture of Luis, that maybe is the last picture that Luis took 1 year ago, I have to say thank you to you. Thank you.